Shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, blessing, and safety to all you Akim out there pushing this truth throughout the four corners of the earth and to the hopeful elect out there. This is the brother Hadabia coming back at you with another one. And this is gonna be a quick one. You see, this is from the people's voice. And this a lot of the news a lot of the news outlets are reporting this, but Iran attacks U.S. military base in Qatar. Iran says it has carried out a mighty and successful attack on a U.S. air base in Qatar. So, if you didn't know, yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, U.S. attacked. They send airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites, and within 24 hours, Iran has attacked back at the U.S. So this is great. So it seems like a back and forth thing is going on right here, and this could escalate. Anticipating an attack, the U.S. moved a large number of its planes for the attack, and the Pentagon claimed there were no casualties and that there was no impact on the base. The New York Times reported that Iran gave advance notice of planes to fire missiles at U.S. bases in the region, having coordinated the strikes with Qatar officials beforehand. So you can see, Iran has attacked back at the U.S. And this other headline stood out to me as well. Iran warns U.S. to expect heavy consequences for striking its nuclear sites. So this might be only the beginning of the attacks. This attack, this airstrike was toward the U.S. was it was on a U.S. base in Qatar. But it wasn't on U.S. soil. If that happens, things are really gonna pick up. Iran says it is coordinating with Russia and warns that the U.S. should expect heavy consequences following Trump's strike on the nuclear sites. An Iran state TV anchor has warned that up to 50,000 American soldiers will be returned to Washington in coffins after Donald Trump raised the possibility of regime change. So they're sending they're sending that threat. They're telling them you're gonna keep attacking us. We're gonna go after your men, or we're gonna go after your soldiers. And this is gonna be war. This is World War III. Being stirred up. Right before our eyes. With the back and forth attacks. So I want to get 1 Thessalonians 5:1. But the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord shall cometh as a thief in the night. When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child. and there shall not escape. I bring this out because, you know, when once Trump attacked, I can't remember where I seen it, but he was talking about, that there can be peace now. And then that's the thing with Babylon the Great. They feel like they could do whatever they want, and 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 they could do they could be the big bully. They could push around these nations. They could do whatever they want, and no one's gonna do nothing back to them. And the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Shai is is gearing these nations to not be afraid of this horror anymore. You know, to go back at America. So America has been nothing but a bully. So these nations they're not scared. They're not scared of America. They're not scared to 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 send airstrikes. You know, seen another video where I don't know if it was the Iranian leader, burning an American flag. Like these nations are have had it. They've had it with America, and you know Trump has just given them a reason to to go at them. You're gonna attack us, then you give us no choice but to attack back. This is great. This is all prophecy. This is Joel 2:1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And yeah, with all this, conflict going on, it is just gearing us towards that great return, of Yahweh Shai, and him coming back to judge this place, and to judge, to judge these nations, but first of all to judge America, which is Babylon the Great. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. And this is the times that we're getting into. This type of stuff. You know, Especially when things really start. When Jacob's trouble really starts to kick off. It's gonna be a very dark time. You know, Especially it's gonna be a dark time. Because the elect are not gonna take that chip. So it's gonna be uh, a battle for us, and there's just going to be just so many things are going to be going on. War is going to be going on, pestilence, the uproars of the people. This is the time. This is the time. That we're getting into. It's going to be a norm. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people, and strong there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be more after it, even to years of many generations. So that fire is coming. These little missile airstrikes. They're, you know, yeah, it's big, but it's not big. When the nukes start flying, when the T attacks start happening, when the death toll, just like the it said that the Iranian how did they word it? Yeah, an Iranian state TV anchor has warned that up to 50,000 American soldiers will be returned to Washington in coffins. Once those type of death tolls are happening, you know then people are gonna really pay attention. Then people are gonna really be scared. then conflict is going to really escalate when you have those type of death tolls, because they they so-called reported that the strikes on the American base, you know that there was no that there's no casualties. They could be lying, they could be telling the truth. We don't know, but once the death toll reaches that thousands, you know, then then people are gonna really start to be really start to take notice as to what's going on. And I feel like a lot of people don't even know what the hell's going on, you know, or the fact that things like this have kind of been normal with, especially what's going on with with Ukraine and Russia, and Palestine and Israel, all these little attacks. When people hear about this one with U.S. and Iran, they kind of maybe brush it off and just see it as just another one of those. It could be, we don't know. It could die down, but at the end of the day, we got to report it. We gotta that's our job. We got to report these things. We got to let people know. You know, we need, and with these things going on, judgment is coming. Judgment is coming, and now's the time. You got to repent, Israel. We got to repent. Got to get right. This is why we send out warning. This is Matthew 10:34. Think not that I come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. So there's no peace going to happen, despite what any politician says. Despite what any general says or commander, there is no peace that is going to happen. We're not living in the time of peace. We're living in the time of war. This is a time of war. It's a time of sorrow. It's a time of death. It's a time where people are going to be fearful. Just like, and people are so fucking proud right now. We want to see, you know, we want to see shit, get crazy. Just like how it was in 2021. It was all peace and safety. They don't happen suddenly, you know, destruction. And in me, how old was I? I was 10, 11. Yeah, I was 10. I was 10 years old when that happened. I wasn't even 11, you know. No, Slocky. I was 11. I was 11 years old when that happened. And I remember just thinking, like, you're scared to go in high rise buildings, scared to go on planes. Because all you were thinking about was, all I could think about was, a plane, just, crashing into shit. So you can just imagine, how it is going to be now. We're living in this time of war. Anything can happen. We don't know. But once things start to kick off, people are going to get scared. People are going to be fearful. People are going to want to pay attention. They're not paying attention now. But like I said, when them death tolls reach them high numbers, then they will. I'm about to read this precept first. This is Joel 3:9. Proclaim this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat their plowshares into swords and their pruning hooks into spears. Leak the weak. Say, I'm strong. Yeah, these nations, you know, they're ready. They're trading in their, you know, their their instruments that that they use for harvest, and they're ready for war. They're ready to drop bombs. They're ready to send airstrikes. They're ready to attack. You know, they're ready. They're ready. They're ready to, create fear. Well, a lot of these nations, a lot of these other nations, they're ready to die. For what they believe in. They don't care. You know, they're ready for war. And I brought this piece out yesterday. I'm going to bring it out again. Revelation 11:14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. It's coming. We don't know when, but we know it's coming very soon. Nuke, the talks of nuclear war has never been as high as it is now. What is America? What did they do? They sent airstrikes on a nuclear base. It wasn't just any regular base. It was a nuclear base. Why? Because they don't want other nations to have the power to send out, nukes. And this is all painting that picture for World War III. When these ICBM missiles are going to be shot, throughout the four corners of the earth. And this is leading up to the day of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This is leading up to the day of Yahushai coming back with his fury, with his chariots. This is what all these are setting it up to be. But we need that MOTB. Hopefully these wars and things like that will push the agenda of the MOTB, in the name of safety. But, we'll see. So, we're just gonna keep reporting, you know, these things that we see, these attacks, and you know, within a few days, things have changed. So we'll see what Lord willing, we'll see what tomorrow has in store. We know what midweek has in store. And we'll see what these attacks lead to. So that's gonna do it for this lesson. I would like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. And peace, blessing, and safety to all the Akim out there, pushing this truth throughout the four corners of the earth, and to the hopeful elect out there. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Until the next one, Shalom.